We are back, and of course, let's settle for the details now. Now, the Mahama-led administration this afternoon is insisting it acted in accordance with the law in appointing the new registrar of the Birth and Death Registry, emphasizing that whilst it is willing to engage in dialogue, due process must be followed. Now, speaking at the news conference at the presidency, presidential spokesperson Felix Kwesi appealed to the Civil and Local Government Staff Association of Ghana to reconsider its decision to embark on a strike this week. He has also been reacting to Ghana Journalists Association's claim that attacks on journalists, describing it as misleading and unfair. Presidential Affairs correspondent Masol Agbagba has more in this report.
Civil and Local Government Staff Association of Ghana last week declared a strike over the appointment of Samuel Adom Botchway as a registrar of the Birth and Death Registry. Well, CLAG says it is going ahead with a strike effective Thursday because it says it has not received any correspondence from the presidency on the reassignment of Samuel Adom Botchway. Presidential spokesperson Felix Kwesi says government acted in accordance with law. He says that CLAG has so far not shown any evidence that government did not act within the confines of the law. He says although government is willing to dialogue on the matter, things must follow due process.
That at the very highest levels of government, there has been engagement between CLAG and government. And as I indicated, CLAG says that a certain action should be taken. But government has to act on the basis of law. So we inquired as to what the premise for that demand is. If you are saying that a position should go to a civil servant, show us the basis for that position. They have been unable to show it. I have showed you the law and specific provisions, and you would all agree with me. Even if you have doubts about what I'm reading, you can dig up the law yourselves and read for yourself. Read section 2 of Act 1027, the Registration of Births and Deaths Act, and satisfy yourself as to who has the authority to make the appointment. And second, whether or not the law says anywhere that the position of the registrar of the Births and Deaths Registry should be held by a civil servant. These, for me, are the issues at play. And to the extent that government has acted lawfully, regularly, and in accordance with the Constitution, I don't see why there should be an entrenched position on the matter. We certainly have not taken an entrenched position. We cannot act illegally simply because a section of our population, in this instance Ghanaian workers, demand that we do. I don't think that it is fair to the people of Ghana, whose taxes are used to pay civil servants, those who work in CLAG, just like myself, the president, or everybody else who works within the public and civil service. You cannot take such a position, which is unfair to them, when the facts are very clear, the laws are very, very clear. If it was the case that government was violating the law, then you would have a basis. As I said, I'm aware that they went to court under the previous government. There's yet to be a determination on the matter. So if the matter has not been determined, there's no judicial pronouncement saying that the position of the law is wrong or what the president has done is wrong. I don't see why entrenched positions should be taken. I don't see why a nationwide strike should be declared on a matter like this.
Felix Kwesi has also been reacting to a press conference by the Ghana Journalists Association, claiming that there have been many attacks on journalists under the new administration. Felix Kwesi says that this narrative is unfair and misleading. He says President John Mahama is a member of the Ghana Journalists Association and that he'll be the last person to supervise attacks on journalists during his tenure as president.
All of you are aware that President Mahama is an easygoing, down-to-earth, affable individual who relates very well with all manner of people. He is a member of the Ghana Journalists Association in good standing. So essentially, he is one of you. He is a member of the Inky fraternity. And therefore, he will be the last person to supervise a dispensation where journalists are attacked. But the way that the press conference was addressed and the way that the matters were couched created the impression that some journalists had perhaps said or written something that government was unhappy about, and therefore government was carrying out reprisals against them. But that is completely incorrect. It is not true, and nothing of the sort has happened. When I inquired from the Ghana General Association president, he mentioned instances where at a recent Council of State elections, there was some scuffle and some journalists were roughed up. He also spoke about Erasmus when he went there to cover their activities. But these are incidents involving persons who are acting unlawfully. For instance, illegal miners in the first place are breaking the law. So if in an attempt to report the activities, some of them attack a journalist, I'm not sure that you can lay the blame at the doorstep of President Mama or the government. It is an act of criminality, which should be dealt with in the same manner that if someone attacked me or assaulted me, it will be dealt with. If at the Council of State elections there is a scuffle and some misguided elements rough up journalists, for me it's a pure law and order issue, which should be reported and dealt with by appropriate law enforcement agencies. I do not see how government can be roped in and the president can be said to have survived a situation where 7 journalists are attacked. If you close from work today and on your way, you engage in a dispute in traffic and somebody assaults you, I'm not sure that it would be fair to say that President Mama is in power and you've been attacked, so he should be held responsible. If it is the case that you have reported that there is some wrongdoing in government or you've uncovered some unlawful acts by the president or any official in government, and because of that, government has organized its agents or assigns to assault you or harm you in any way, then you can say that the president has to be held liable or government has to be held liable. And in this country, we've seen instances like that, where Ahmed Swale, who was known to have been actively involved in uncovering corruption in football in Ghana, was gunned down in broad daylight. That matter remains outstanding and is yet to be resolved. We've seen instances where Edward Adeti, a reporter for GH1 and Star FM, reported some underhand dealings in the Upper East region, I believe, involving the minister of that region at the time. And for that reason, he had to flee because his life was in danger and he was being threatened by agents, known agents of the state.
He has also been responding to the NPP's claim that it left substantial amount of money in the sinking fund.
So if the NPP officials are saying that we are able to pay these monies because they left money in the sinking fund, it should reflect when you take a cursory look at the statement of account. I have the statement of account before me. It is a voluminous document which shows all transactions that have occurred in the account over a certain period. Now, if you look at the dollar-denominated debt service reserve account, the records will show that the last time under the NPP, when there was a movement in the account, was 22nd October 2024. That was the last time that any money came in or left that account before the NPP left power. Now, if you check the balance in the account as of 22nd October 2024, it was $64,387. $64,387. We are talking about payments within the range of 6 billion Ghana cedis. And you and I know that $64,000 cannot amount to 6 billion Ghana cedis. Indeed, if you did a rough conversion using an exchange rate of 15 cedis, I'm sure you will get something in the region of about 800,000 Ghana cedis or so, if I'm not mistaken, or a little over 1 million Ghana cedis, if my mathematics is right. Now, on 31st January 2025, and everybody knows that on 31st January 2025, the NDC government was.
Well, that's why the presidency defended its decision in nominating the birth and death registrar. In fact, he's been appointed. CLAG remains firm on proceeding with its nationwide strike that is starting tomorrow. And they came through with a statement I want to share with you this afternoon here on ThePulse. And this is coming from CLAG. They say, we refer to your letter number, is provided here, dated February 13, 2025 on the above subject. CLAG would wish to inform our members to hold themselves in readiness to embark on the nationwide industrial action scheduled for Thursday, that's tomorrow, 20 February 2025. And they say in the statement that from all indications, the officer, Mr. Samuel Adom Botchway, is so at post as he represented the birth and death registry at the budget hearing held at the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs on Monday, 17 February 2025. Right, and so this is CLAG's position on this matter. They are going on. So, well, it is good time to bring in a labor expert for a quick, conversation on this matter. Mr. Agami, good afternoon and welcome to ThePulse, sir.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. So the presidency says that President Mahama has not violated any law. In fact, he's just the appointment he's done at the birth and death registry is in compliance with the dictates of the law. CLAG thinks otherwise, and they are embarking on a strike tomorrow. First of all, does this warrant such an action from CLAG?
Thank you. First of all, this is my view about the question you are asking. Yes, workers have a right to go on strike, but it must be based on something. If it's just a question of the president appointing somebody into office, the authorized person by Article 195 of the Constitution is the president, who is entitled to appoint people into various offices. Under the Labor Law, Section 8A of the Labor Act 651, as an employer representing the state, they are the only authorized bodies to appoint people to various offices. So there must be basis. If I listen carefully, they felt that the birth and death or death and birth registry is having a career position.
Right.
And therefore, the person who is there should have been considered for promotion. The approach is what should be a source of problem for even themselves. The way to go about this is not about going on strike. It's about engagement. It's about dialogue. So I don't know who is advising that they should go on strike to have their matter resolved. So they have to reconsider the concerns that they have. This is a new government managing the affairs of state and have a right to appoint people to various places. If you think that you have someone in the career path that could do that and has the merit, has the capacity to do it, there's nothing wrong for the union making a case for such a person through the various heads. Because the union cannot be the one appointing anybody and cannot force anybody onto the employer. Employment relationship is not one of slavery. It's not one of servitude, which is also both legal and constitutional. So I think we have to be very careful as we go about these things.
But do they have a case when they say that they do not want political appointees to head some agencies, including the birth and death registrar? They warned on this matter last year, and they are only carrying through their threats.
No, whether the warning was last year or 2 years, it may not be the issue. The issue is, what about the NIA, the National Identification Authority, where we have the Ghana card now being the real primary, secondary, and tertiary document that is used for everything across the country. The person who is there is in public office also. They're paid by public money. And you can call the person politically exposed. Who is not politically exposed in this country? Who? Who in this country and where? Where is somebody not exposed. Everybody is exposed in one way or the other. I am not in the mainstream of affairs of NDC. I have publicly said I empathize with affairs of NDC. And the real thing is that I also vote. But I was once upon a time engaged by somebody who is not NDC to be their consultant. I worked for President Kufuor's hotel for 4 years as a consultant, writing their collective agreement and helping them in their matters. What about that?
We'll leave it here, Mr. Gami. We hope that government wants to engage. We are hoping that engagement will come on. But what CLAG is saying that we embark on a strike action tomorrow because of government insistence on maintaining the birth and death registrar. Now, let's talk about water tanks. Do you know the secret to real water storage is simple. If your tank doesn't have the tortoise on it, then it's not the correct tank. That's right. The tortoise tank, Sintex tank, is a champion of water tanks. It's strong, durable, and built to handle our Ghanaian weather, rain or shine. Sintex tank has your back. So my people, go outside, check your water tank, and if it doesn't have the tortoise on it, it is time to upgrade. Join the Sintex tank family today and enjoy water storage that's tough like a tortoise. You can call 0244 335 168 to buy now, or find one of our 400 agents nationwide and get your Sintex tank with the tortoise symbol on it. Without that, well, then you may be throwing your money away. This is the Pulse here on Joy News. We'll take a short break and return. And when we come back, I will have a conversation with the minority leader, Afenyo-Markin. He speaks about the oral and the fact that he threatened to sue them if his name is mentioned anywhere near their report. There's a conversation on the dismissals in the public space, the OSP, and of course, the Electricity Company of Ghana. When we return, we'll bring you that conversation. Right, so we are coming to you live from the office of the minority leader of Ghana's parliament, the member of parliament for Efutu in the central region, Afenyo-Markin, and he's become, if you like, the face of politics in Ghana now because of his stance on a lot of national issues on the floor of parliament, even leading a minority side in the House. There's been a lot of issues around the country from the OSPs, certain action that the OSP has taken to government decision to lay off some individuals that were employed and put on the public payroll after the elections, if you like, and then even before that. And several national issues that are of concern to him. And so we're going to engage him on a lot of issues this evening. Honorable Afenyo-Markin, you're welcome to Joy News.
Thank you for having me on this, your very respected platform.
The work never stops. I mean, we are looking at it this time of the day. You've been here since morning, you are still here. And I wonder whether you have time to attend to domestic issues at home, even have time with family, the kids especially.
Well, we are managing. We have to manage. We've signed up to do public service, and it has its own challenges. So we're doing it. We balance it off with family life because the family needs you alive. To be effective and efficient, you need to have some peace at home. So it's not lost on us that we keep the peace at home and then be able to do our work. But truth be told, it's very challenging.
It is.
Carrying the party on your shoulder in Parliament requires listening to everybody, taking decision and being responsible for decisions that you take. You have to be all alert on the floor with your research team, researching on all manner of issues so that you would have them handy. But I've been a politician for the better part of my adult life.
Right.
So I'm used to it. I mean, being part of this chamber since 2013, I've understudied other leaders, seen the inner workings of Parliament. So at least that gives me the benefit of appreciating some of the nuances of the chamber.
And your beautiful office is adored with pictures of family members. your wedding pictures, your family members.
Yeah. So
is that to tell you that beyond politics, there's a family back there that you need to
so
attend to?
I position pictures here very strategically. So on this right side, I have my dad, my mom in the middle, and my stepdad. The three of them, you know. I look at all their contributions to my life, so I sit there to take inspiration from them in moments of difficulty. I just look at them, and then just behind my seat, I have the party forebearers.
The former president.
You have Buzia, you have JB Dankwa, you have Kufo, you have Edubuahin, you have former President Akufo-Addo. So that is my strength.
Right.
This is where I carry the source of my power to lead the party in Parliament. These are the owners of the party, so to speak. Then when I sit at this corner, I look right ahead of me to also take inspiration from Nkrumah, you know, our first president, a great nationalist leader who has done so much for the country as our founding president.
Right.
And then in Parliament, there's one woman who is my source of inspiration.
And that's Patricia Piaget.
Patricia Piaget. Before she became my deputy, this was a mother figure to me in Parliament, who in all difficulties and dangers, she would come to me. And then she's a Catholic like myself, so we will be talking about the effect of the rosary and the power of our rosary, and talking about prayer. And we took that picture. So I always have it there.
Sure.
And then that's one with my dear wife.
The first lady.
We have another one. And the wedding picture is right by me at 23 when I took that bold decision to take her to the altar. And then we started a union there. And then behind me is, in fullness of time, all things shall align.
Which is Sky.
This came from my good friend Richard, where very low moments in my political life, Sky was there, and he had to encourage me and talk to me. And I always remember Richard's last words in leaving my house would be that, Alexo, in the fullness of time, all things shall align. So seeing myself in all the low moments of life, we came into Parliament, we got power. I didn't make it to the executive. I wasn't lucky to be in leadership, even at committee. I wasn't a leader at the committee level for first 4 years. It was not easy, but I had a good friend who was there to share this with me. So this is a very profound statement, and these veritable words still gives me the room to reflect. And I've been telling my friends in the NDC who have not made it that, look, don't be heartbroken. This is life. Take it easy. Your day would come.
Sure.
And I never thought I could have my day, but relying on your God and working hard. Because as for politics, when you go through difficult times, you don't have to give up. You just have to take it easy, reflect, and then, you know. So I think, my first son, when I took him to the medical school, they've covered that one. He's there.
Yeah.
And then his other siblings are also right behind and all that. So we're trying. A lot of things make a man who he is. Our service to God and our focus on our Maker manifests in so many ways.
Right.
And as a man, in all of these things that you have around you, must give you that positive vibration, that energy to take you closer to your God.
Great.
And I think multiple factors help me to manage each day. It's not easy though. Always praying that God gives me the strength to carry on.
Right. So, I mean, in public, before you actually got into public life, I know you got yourself into business.
And I'm still in. I'm still in the private sector.
And I also know the story about what motivated you to go to the law school, the Mercedes-Benz, the Dabadi Beach Hotel, and all those matters.
Sure.
So, I mean, and your practice, the landmark cases that you took to the Supreme Court and all those. So, when it's come to the law practice in the country, you are one of the best. Now, let's start off on this matter with the Office of the Special Prosecutor and the former Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta. This afternoon, I heard you say that Ken Ofori-Atta is likely to come back to the country somewhere in May. Now, an hour or so later, we got a statement from the Office of the OSP saying that they have removed Ken Ofori-Atta from the list of wanted persons on their website, and he is no longer a fugitive from justice, at least for now, because they've gotten word from him that he will be coming to town and then avail himself to the OSP. What do you make of this?
Well, it's a positive news. Once upon a time, we were reminded by the President of America, Barack Obama, that we don't need strong men, but we need strong institutions. For me, the pillars of democracy can better be effective when we see that organically they are being allowed to grow and becoming more functional, rather than looking at the individuals. Therefore, I think that what the OSP has done is commendable. A crime is a crime. It does not go away with time. And if this office is investigating, it doesn't matter what, it still can do its work. So I didn't like it when people were attacking the person of the OSP. I mean, the special prosecutor.
Right.
I mean, I didn't think that there was a need to attack his person. You know, if there was anything that people disagreed, we use the system to correct it. And I believe he himself is a practitioner.
But your side was not happy with the initial route.
Well, it's
it's
always like that. And I think that I took it upon myself to engage and to help manage the situation. And by the grace of God, that clarity that was needed has been provided. The man is going through some medical procedure, and he's brought evidence from a credible medical facility, well respected all over the world, Mayo Clinic in Minnesota. And I'm sure with that indication, the OSP2 has given 2nd June or so as a day that, latest day that is expected.
According to the letter that came from the lawyers representing Mr. Ofori-Atta, in their communication,
between 14 to 31st May.
Yeah, to 31st
so he has also said on the 2nd June or something. That's what I've read. So I believe that the in-person interview can be done. However, I'm sure that if the OSP wants to do a virtual engagement, that process can also start. At least it's indicated that. So let's leave it at that. I think that as a nation, we should allow our institutions to work, not to be attacking the personalities. They will make mistakes, obviously. They'll falter here and they look at the beautiful thing that the majority leader did on the floor.
Apologizing for
when, on behalf of government, that when those gentlemen from National Security undertook that raid, they came to the floor of the House to say, no, this thing is not right.
Martin Amidu seems to think that that apology was unwarranted.
Well, that is his opinion.
He's not even happy that you had to accept the apology.
No, that's
for him. What took place at Ken's house was unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean,
and for that reason,
by all standards. I mean, we've said so, but he has come to say, I'm sorry. as to the legal steps to remedy, the other remedy available to Mr. Afenyo-Markin, that one is his personal decision. But for me, politically, if a government says that I'm wrong, so be it. I've read Mr. Amidu's article where he's calling for a proper investigation by the states to ascertain who authorized the action and all. I believe that that could be looked at another time. But I think that for me, the apology and the condemnation was also very necessary.
And you think that Ayarga in that instance was speaking on behalf of the government?
Oh, but that's exactly what he said.
Okay.
That's what he said. So for me, it ends there. But as a growing democracy, we can go a step further than to say that, okay, those should be brought for inquiry. That one is for us as Parliament to deal with it. I'm sure, given the circumstance, certain steps could be taken.
But this is in a broader scenario of these, issues coming up almost every day. That even some members on your side.
No, I had my drones being flown, on my property.
The ORA team denies that.
Don't mind them. They are very insincere people. Very insincere. They did it. Ablakwa came to read a search. How can you go and do a search, conduct a search on somebody's property?
Why would they target you?
They are not serious. You see, sometimes politicians think that by attacking an opponent, it breaks the opponent down and they would be popular. NDC should know that they've won. They've won with a 4-year mandate. They should be busy with implementation of their manifesto promise, rather than coming after Afenyo-Markin.
They say that they are going after legally acquired state property.
Well, but how can you come to my property that I have put there since 2006?
Because they have questions for you.
Well, I'm saying that they thought it was a state land. And because I share wall, or there's a common boundary between my property and the police academy. So maybe they thought that it's a police academy property that I had illegally acquired. And unfortunately for them, that was not it. In any case, must you fly a drone on my property? And not only at Akosia village, my property in town. This one was the beachfront property, but the one at the veterinary area, they were flying drones over. And then when you are caught, you say that it is not true. So who did it? We know what they've been doing in cantonment.
There was no official communication to you?
No, they never wrote.
This was done discreetly?
They did what they did, and they had their chairman coming to vetting and carrying a search report and ignorantly reading it, and then in what he read, expose them. This is not a state land, So, what were you looking for?
Will you be surprised if your name or your property is captured in the report that they presented to the president as one of those that requires, further probe?
I will sue them
for trespassing or for what?
If I see anything inconsistent with the law, I'll sue them. I'll sue their individual, personalities. I'll sue each one of them. I will sue them for the law to remedy the situation. Because you see, if you win power, you don't use the power to dislodge another person. And I must admit that since Kufuor's era, the political class hasn't done well with the management of power. All of us. I'm not blaming one side. All of us, MPP, NDC, we've not done well with the management of power. We are not learning lessons. We win power, and the next thing is I go after your opponent. And for how long can you do that? 3 months, 6 months, people will get even tired of you. Look, if they like this thing that they claim ORA, They now claim so scandal here, scandal there. Let them continue. Give them 3 months. Give them another 4 months. Ghanaians will be fed up and say, "Yatia breye, usi obi abokro no den na wo ye." Wo ye to abama ho no. Che de e kom den. From puntu obra. You get what I'm But sometimes we feel that by demonizing the opponent, you will become popular. It doesn't work that way. And maybe we are yet to learn lessons. But I think that it's very unfortunate that this has become a vicious cycle, that every 4 years or 8 years, a party wins coming into power and we want to attack opponent. You know, the NDC, they went into a meeting, watch proceedings in parliament. They went into a meeting and the decision was that any time I rise to speak, their backbench should start shouting. So since that meeting, anytime, but I say, these guys, whoever gave you this idea has not helped you. That when the minority leader is on his feet, get up and be shouting. I'm not the type that when you shout, it will break me down. I will make my point. And in the chamber, look, NDC has overwhelming majority.
Right.
183 plus independent candidates, MPs making 187, right? Look, since we started, we've never had NDC filling their seats with up to 104 seats, 104 MPs. Never. Each day we enter the chamber, I cause my whips to count. And I do that for a reason.
Right.
So at any point, you will need the minority to build consensus,
right,
to take decisions. So you don't antagonize the minority. You don't attack the minority. That you think that if you suppress them, if you do this, you call them names. That is when you will be seen as clean. All too soon, we have seen those who were all over in town claiming to be all righteous and now claiming that they are tenants at the airport hills. We saw it.
Let me just ask just one question on the oral. I mean, they try to sue if your name or your property is captured in their reports. And as a lawyer, I mean,
I don't think they will have basis. But
again, I just want to find
for politics, they do.
You as a lawyer,
if
the AG says that is going to investigate and then ask further questions. If your property or name is captured in the report, they will have every right to question you, and that cannot amount to.
Well, I don't own a state land. I've never bought a state land, and I've not bought any property belonging to the state. So, quite reasonably, I don't expect them to gather any information on me to the effect that I bought a state land. I've never bought any state land in Accra here. I've not bought any state land in Winneba. In fact, Winneba, there's no state land there, so I cannot even own a state land. You get what I mean? I've not bought any state land. No.
Right.
So they cannot capture my property in Winneba and in Accra. My Belenpe residents have lived there 20-something years. Right. I'm still there. You know, is it a state? The entire Belenpe is a state owning any land in Abelenpe? No. So I don't see the basis for they even doing anything that will have my name. They attempted and they got exposed. Let's say they were doing deep ocean fishing. But should they think that I have done anything wrong and they invite me, I would attend. Oh, of course, why not?
Okay.
If anybody, any state institution invite me to answer questions, why not? Because once you are in public service, the state would always need you in one way or the other to answer questions. And then you explain your side of the story. It's as simple as that. But any attempt at persecuting the minority will be resisted.
Briefly, and back to the OSP matter, and some have suggested that perhaps this new energy that is being exhibited by the OSP is just an attempt to to come for members of the former administration. Do you see it that way, or just the OSP doing its work?
Let me not prejudice the work of the OSP.
You don't think former appointees are targeted?
I don't want to go that route. Let's all wait and see. Let's believe that institutions of state will act in good faith and will rely on the law in pursuing people. Let's leave it there.
And still talking about the rule of law. I mean, before the MPP administration left office, some persons were employed, Ghanaians. Now, President Mahama's directive, as communicated by the Chief of Staff, was to the effect that anybody who was employed between a certain period, especially after the December 7th election, that employment should be revoked. And already we are seeing evidence of that. This morning, for example, the Ghana Education Service issued a directive that everybody that was employed and yet to be captured on the public payroll, that appointment should be terminated.
In 2017, when a matter of this nature arose, President Mahama tweeted to condemn that action and criticize the government of the day. In his campaign, he assured the youth that he won't come and terminate anybody's appointment. Some of these appointments, the processes started way back, and eventually the appointment letters were issued, some September, October, some November, some December. I have seen letters that are terminating appointments that were made as far back as June last year. But we've raised it on the floor. I've written to Mr. President today on this matter.
You've written to the President?
Yes, I have.
Demanding what exactly?
Oh, I've written to Mr. President, stating the fact and calling on him to intervene and stop the action of the Chief of Staff, and that these are Ghanaians who have been employed, who are being thrown out of employment onto the streets. We don't need it as a country. It is not good for the image of the country, and it is creating some deep pain amongst people. Now, they refer to 2017 and say that Honorable Asafo-Mafo said it was never done. You see, we were all in government. People prevailed on those who wanted to do that to stop. In fact,
there was an attempt to lay off those that
but it was never done
by the Mahama administration.
Yes, it was never done.
But there are media publications to the fact that some people actually laid off.
No, where are those letters? It was not done. If you are talking about political appointees, that's a different matter. As for political appointees that had the appointment being revoked, that's one. Those revocations were done. But I'm talking about employees. Today, nurses are being sent home. Teachers are being sent home. Because of what? Institutions that are independent, institutions that are limited liability companies with their own board, who do not even, these institutions do not have government subventing the activities or providing support for them, who generate their own funds, revenue, and have employed. They are also taking such decisions. So if an institution like Ghana Gas employs an individual, it has no effect on government fiscal space. So how would you direct that institution to terminate the appointment when the person has gone through interview, aptitude test, medicals, and eventually being given a letter? It doesn't work that way.
But for those that, for example, teachers, nurses, and other individuals on the public payroll, the claim here is that these appointments were done without recourse to any financial clearance from the Ministry of Finance then.
That is not true.
It's like your party lost power and decided to push 8 members into various spaces within the public space. For all of
these, there were clearance. All of these, there were clearance. It's not true. It's not true.
So why would government say that it was not properly done?
I've written to Mr. President, and I believe that we would get a good response.
The layoffs of
I am aware people, some individuals are going to court.
Yeah, because I'm just reading from your national organizer, Henry Adom Botchway. He says, I filed a lawsuit against government of Ghana challenging the unlawful termination of appointment for individuals employed both before and after December 7, election 2025. Is this the way to go?
Well, sometimes the appropriate place to get your remedies in the court. But that notwithstanding, we would continue to mount pressure through legitimate means to ensure that these innocent Ghanaians, these helpless Ghanaians get their jobs restored.
And it looks like it's not only there. Today as well, we read a statement from the Ministry of Communication signed by the sector minister, terminating the license of some 5 radio stations. According to the statement, they've been operating without the requisite documentation.
Yesterday, when this happened, the NDC criticized the action. Mr. Sam George himself, then ranking, he was a deputy ranking, he criticized the action. And today, same is being done. I would want to have a full study of the decision, and then we'll take action.
For now, it hasn't come to...
No, we'll take it up. I would engage. I've become aware of the publication, but our committee responsible for the sector will do some work on it, and then we'll take it up.
I'm not sure the ministry will just isolate some radio stations and then terminate their frequency. They are specific. They are operating without license, and that for me is illegal. It's unlawful.
What I'm saying is that I would want to get a full briefing from our team, and before we escalate it. But it's quite strange to hear of a thing like this. One, they were told that from the statement said for national security reason. I wonder.
There's one in Boko where they say that the radio station is being used to fuel the violence there, and for that reason, they shouldn't be allowed to operate.
Well, on the floor of the House, I'm sure the minister can give justification. So I believe when we hold him before the House, he will be able to explain some of these things to us.
But generally, the Mahama administration so far, how is it doing well? Is the government doing well? Where do you have challenges with the way governance is being done? Today, for example, there's a forum to look at how best we can reform the educational sector.
Well, this government...
I don't know whether the minority
government is acting...
side got an invitation to attend.
No, we never. I'm here. I've never got any invitation. This government is behaving as if it came into office without the manifesto. It should be bold and own up to its own policies. Today committee, tomorrow committee, so-called consultation. But I don't see it that way. The government is not being bold enough to take responsibility for its decisions. So that is my first problem. The second one is the level of decisions being taken and the next day reversing it. The government is not being decisive.
Some of the CEOs of some of the state owners prices.
Today, somebody should go here. The next day they've changed it. That's what led to this Fabako.
But that's the prerogative of the president.
Yeah, but the
point who to change and who to bring.
Well, but you go take somebody to Gov't, then GMPC, the next woman to Gov't. Somebody's at GIPC, as if when you were making the appointment, you didn't think through. And that's the most unfortunate.
And what does that suggest?
That the government is not decisive, it's not bold. You can't stick to your decision.
President.
Well, it's the government. He signs the president signs the letter through his secretary. So if he keeps changing, then the problem starts with him and ends with him. And by extension, his own government. So that's is not a good sign enough. But I think that we would want to give them their full 100 days to expire and look at the SONA, look at the budget, and then after that, we can properly assess them.
But you will admit that there are problems with the implementation of the free senior high school program. There is no dedicated funding to support it. If government says that let's all join hands,
but we implemented, we implemented it for 8 years. They criticized.
There are still issues.
They
there's feuding issues.
They
issues.
They criticized us, and they said they had an alternative plan. What is the alternative plan? What is the committee for? What is the alternative plan of the NDC? What is the alternative policy to make the free SHS better? It's not about committee. It's about what they themselves have. What is their own homegrown solution as a party? They should tell us their solution. They don't have. So you are now seeking the people's views. You don't have one. What is the NDC saying?
Their plan is what is captured.
They say the same
in
thing
their manifesto.
On the energy sector, ECG, and then now they are talking about consultation in the educational sector. To do what? What is their own plan for the educational sector? The free SHS. They say this today, tomorrow they change their mouth. No, that's not the way to go.
The privatization of ECG is on the table. You serve as board
but
chair.
when they were in opposition,
the ECG,
they opposed the privatization. When they were in office, they opposed the privatization. They opposed the privatization.
But ECG is not in good standing.
I agree. It is true. As a chair, I came face to face with the challenges of ECG. And I believe that ECG can be made more and more efficient. But the question is it only through privatization that ECG can be efficient?
Some cite the PDS example and said when PDS was on board, things started moving smoothly.
Well, I wasn't in at the time, unless I studied whichever report. I can't make a pronouncement on that.
There's a statement that came out yesterday. The sector minister says that he's going to investigate it to the extent that, according to the statement, ECG brought in some goods at the time of Harbor. Because of their ability to clear it at a certain time, it went into administration. The goods were auctioned. Somebody bought it for 100,000 Ghana. That's $6,000. ECG went to buy the goods from the private person that bought the goods at 300,000 US.
When I became the chair, I was told of that story. And in fact, I had a problem with ECG having to import for and still pay duty. So one of the things I did as a board chair was to get the board to issue a new directive to the effect that any supplier who imported for ECG had to clear and deliver to our warehouse. That was the first intervention I made. So I stopped that thing upon assumption of office as chair.
So are you surprised that...
No, I'm not surprised because I know we had a lot of challenges. We had a lot of containers at the port. So what Jinapos said was right. Indeed, there were a lot of containers at the port that we had not paid for their
clearance,
their duty. So when I assumed office, as a businessman, I didn't see the sense in it. You get a contract, you only drop the bill of lading and start pursuing your money, and then sometimes you are even paying the supplier and the goods have not been cleared. And it's true, people take advantage of the system where they go, the customs guys will auction, and when they auction, they go and buy it, and then somebody may have an order, and then they sell the same thing back to ECG. It doesn't make sense.
Absolutely.
It's one of
somebody must be held responsible.
It's one of the things that we have to look at. So I'm happy the minister is taking a step. When I was in office as board chair, I got the board to take a decision on that, and there was a new policy. Okay. And if you go there, you can find for yourself that there should be no contract that will terminate at the port. The person should supply the goods to our warehouse.
Right. Alexander Afenyo-Markin is the minority leader and he's my guest here on the show. Welcome back. So, Honorable Leader, let's talk about the party. I mean, the events of January 30, the disturbances at the Appointments Committee. The Speaker set up an ad hoc committee to investigate and report to him. You were supposed to be one of the witnesses to appear. Based on a letter or a memo you wrote to the Speaker, you did not show up. Yes. Have you gotten a response from the Speaker?
We're waiting on the Speaker to respond to our memo. Then, based on his response, we know our next line of action. But obviously, it's clear that the chairman was acting on his own path that he felt was right. We had a problem with it.
You were not running away from accountability?
Oh, which accountability? What were you running away from? There was nothing to run away from. I mean, we've stated our position clearly on those matters, and given the opportunity, would state our position. We need a very fair, transparent system, not when people have been lined up and coached to come and tell lies, and the chairman himself is part of the crusade. We are too smart for that, but we've written. We expect Mr. Speaker to respond to us, and we take it up from there.
You don't have a response yet?
No, not yet.
But the chairman of the committee, Emmanuel Bejua, says that regardless of the position you've taken, he will still go ahead and write his report and present.
If he knows what is called due process, he wouldn't even attempt to say that. If he knows what is called due process. Somebody has written to the appointer, the one who appointed you, questioning your independence, questioning your transparency. If you really want to do justice, you will recuse yourself. You won't go on a tangent still attacking. The man was so prejudiced. He was all over on radio, TV, attacking me. You watched it. He granted interviews all over, attacking me, attacking a minority, predetermining the matter. So, it's one of the sins he's committed. Now you could go and even say that you go ahead and do your report. Do your report. We'll all be in the chamber. We'll be in the chamber. Or in the chamber, we'll be rendered mumu. You can't be rendered mumu. You bring the report and come and tell the whole world that this is what you think. He, Bejra, morally, has he questioned himself? Has he reflected on himself as an individual? This is a man that last year in October, even when Supreme Court had pronounced on the matter of the vacant seats, he went into the chamber to sit on our seat and told the media that should we come in and attempt to take our own seat, he will beat us. We will slap them. Those were his words. We will beat them. It will be more than January 7th, 2021. That was his reference point. This is a person who is saying he's questioning somebody's morality on somebody's conduct. This is a man who was part of the January 7th chaos in Parliament. 2021, January 7th. He was part of it. He calls himself a Christian. Okay? In Parliament, some people refer to him as pastor. And this is a man who publicly threatened his colleague MPs who were law-abiding. And today he says he's a chairman of which committee to probe into whose conduct. He's not even ashamed of himself.
Did you or your side, in terms of input into the composition of the committee, Did you have a buy-in?
Well, I've raised a number of issues with the Speaker. I want to respect Mr. Speaker. I don't want to discuss my expectations of the Speaker. Let me give him time.
So for now, as we speak, the Speaker's initial reaction was to take some members of the committee. Are they still out of the appointment committee? Or based on the apology rendered on the floor in the Speaker's subsequent...
No, I think the appointment committee remains intact.
It remains intact. What about the other committees that are...
We have not formed the committees yet. I think largely because the government is yet to be formed. I mean, I think there are still ministerial nominees in the pipeline. So government side would want to complete that process so that they know who to put where. I understand the process. So we've still not done with the committees.
Briefly, then we can talk about MPP matters. The Attorney General, Dominic Hayinde, the decision you took in court to discontinue some high-profile cases, your take on that?
Well, today, I think I saw one of our colleagues filing a question, you know, an urgent question to invite him to brief us on the memo that he said the former AG overlooked. You know, the Attorney General said there was a memo that advised against the
case of Ghana Cocoa Board opening.
No. Oh, well, against some individuals.
Right.
So I have seen a question from one of our colleagues, and I believe that when he brings that memo, which he talks about, for us to interrogate as a house, we can put these matters to a peaceful rest. But I must say also that by law, the Attorney General has that discretion to exercise. However, because we live in a political space, people are very concerned. We are concerned that what's new, what has happened and all. He has led a press conference to explain himself on this matter, but he raised a critical point about a certain memo, which, as I've told you, I've become aware that the member has requested for that to be brought before Parliament. So let's wait.
Okay. How is the reorganization of the MPP going?
Well, I think it will require a selfless collective approach. For now, the Okwe report is yet to come out. So we must tread cautiously. It's a very painful thing to lose an election. It's a painful experience, no doubt. But once we have initiated a process to look into the matter, we must all patiently wait. Meanwhile, what we have to do is to continue to work for the party, be part of efforts at rebranding and making the party attractive. It is not for us to accuse each other. As for politics, I mean, once you win power and you are in government, a lot of things happen.
But there's blame everywhere.
Yes,
some are blaming the former president, some are even blaming the candidate that represented a candidate that didn't appeal to the electorates.
If you open it up, you will hear a lot. But like I said, this is not the first time we are losing power. But I would want to refer to the NDC and how they conducted themselves. In the year 2000, when they lost painfully, many Ghanaians thought that, oh, NDC is it. In the year 2000, when Kufuor came, I don't know how young we were, but at least I was old enough to participate in that process of election. I voted. I was at the university, Kivas. So I voted. And 2001, 2002, many people were saying that, hey, the way NDC had been humiliated, they will never get power.
I remember the words of Several Samuel Boateng then, said that the NDC was going to be in opposition for 30 years.
Right. Now came 2004. They started reclaiming some of the seats they had lost. Ashama. We won Ashama in 2000. They took back Ashama. We won Dadekotopon, La. In the year 2000, they took back La Dadekotopon. We won Odododio in 2000. They took it back in 2004. Between Teshi and Ngwa, I think we won both in the year 2000. In 2004, they claimed one. All right? Sunafo area.
In the Hafo region.
In the Hafo region. There were seats that, there was a seat we took.
In fact, it was called out the seat, and then he came back to take it.
And quite a number of them. Fast forward by 2008, NDC has reorganized itself, and they took power from us.
Including even some no-go areas for the NDC.
Right. We had round 1, round 2, and round 3. Then when they also won, they thought it was over for us. 2012, just their first term. You see how they rigged Akufo-Addo in the 2012 election. Manufacturing pink sheet here and there to save themselves. They realized that was when we all woke up to this pink sheet, because that time, pink sheet could emerge from nowhere, and that's why this time we have embossment on the pink sheet. All those things led to that reform. So you realize that second term is not guaranteed. You are only guaranteed the very election that you've won. So, if really the Supreme Court had been unanimous, it was a 4-5 decision on the key issues. If we had won, we're going to go into the election again, or Akufo-Addo was going to be declared the winner in the 2012. But by 2016, NDC and MPP had become very alert on the pink sheet. So there was no way anybody could do, libi-libi or laba-laba, and then we won. Okay? In 2016 itself, we had 169 seats. The first in the history of our democracy that a party had won such an overwhelming. We thought all was good. It was over for NDC. What happened in 2020? They claimed back, they took 32 of the seats back within 4 years.
Right.
So when our friends are over celebrating and saying micro minority, I just sit there and say, well, for now, enjoy it whilst it lasts. Look, we have about 62 seats. Not about, we have 62 seats that they won with less than 1,000 vote margin. Then of the 62, we have another 32 that they won with less than 500 margin of win. Equiapim South here, 132. You go to Owin, 93. Even so, with all the violence and attack on polling agents and all that, we can't go into that. But they have now created a certain awakening. In MPP, we over-relied on the police and felt that, election security, so let them do their work. And the NDC trained its full soldiers to overpower the police. So they managed to manipulate the results at the polling stations. We've learned our lesson.
Some say the early concession by your Flagbearer
I'm saying that we've learned
to discouragement.
We've learned our lesson.
It opened the way for.
We've learned our lessons. What the NDC has taught us is that beyond the campaign, we should prepare to defend our ballots. So, going into 2028, we would go with all the determination to protect our ballots. All these vigilante attacks on us, where people would carry full soldiers to force a declaration. I don't think that, God willing, 2028 will sit and allow ourselves to be beaten and cheated. We will go prepared within the law to act lawfully to protect our ballots, so that when it is 100 for MPP, 100 will be counted and declared. Not that out of fear, somebody will not declare. You get the point? So we've learned our lessons. Come to the party. I will tell party members, have patience. Don't fight. Stop the attacks. Let's look at the way forward. Forget about whatever has happened. As for politics, even NDC now in office, they are there less than 2 months. They have their own problems, but they've not given up. So let's not give up. Let's work together as a team. For me, I see victory come 2028.
Come 2028.
Oh yes, I see victory. Because Ghanaians will realize how hard we worked, the infrastructure, and compare. But I'm also saying that in government, we made some mistakes, obvious mistakes. I mean, some decisions were not popular, like this haircut,
the domestic debt exchange program.
Debt exchange program was not popular at all. People were not happy, but these were some of the decisions that we had to take as a government. We paid dearly for it. But we also introduced some social intervention programs and modernize the way institutions work in the country through these digitalization programs. We introduced the free SHS, the massive infrastructure in our various communities, the Agenda 111 initiative. All these were major interventions. The London Beach sites,
right.
When we assumed of it, we had zero. You remember the famous CDB facility? NDC abandoned it. Not a single landing beach was initiated. We came and did more than 12. So I'm sure that come 2028,
the story will be different.
Compare. I keep calling on my colleague MPs that stay away from the flag bearership race.
And that include yourself?
Of course.
It is not on the table for you?
No. Why should I go and declare openly for a particular candidate? If I do that, I'll be dividing the party.
But do you have intention of running for office one day?
No, please.
For the presidency?
No, I beg you. Let's forget about this matter. We are...
As a politician, that is the ultimate goal.
We are talking about the party and those who may be contesting for the flag bearership race. And I'm saying that as MPs, we are to solve the problems that would come. If we are not careful and we become part of the problem, the situation will get out of hand. My repeated calls to my colleague MPs is that let's stay out of this. Let's rather be those to be building bridges. Let's be the ones to be talking to all the various interest groups.
All right.
And bring them
together.
To the table.
Let me pick your constitutional brain on this matter. I mean, I've heard rumors murmuring some here and there. The NDC, with their majority in parliaments and with the independent MPs that have decided to do business with the NDC, put them in a certain position to effect certain changes. Some people are even suggesting that they may come a time somebody may suggest that perhaps Mahama should be allowed to run a third term, and that will lead to some constitutional reforms.
I don't think President Mahama himself would support that. I don't think he will support that. I doubt.
Okay.
The man that we've all come to know him to be, I doubt if he will entertain such a thought.
You expect that he will step down?
I mean, look,
before 2028?
We've come far as a nation. The man has been deputy minister, MP for 16 years. All right. Or is it? Yeah, he's been MP for 16 years.
Right.
Or 12 years. He's been vice president and had the privilege of serving his country 8 years. I don't think he would want to pursue that path.
My final question will be, I mean, I've known you for some time now. I've been to your home sometimes. Sometimes when I come, the place is like a marketplace. You have virtually touched every community in your constituency and even beyond. What really is a motivation? Building school blocks, provide them, computers, laptop for teachers, IT centers, marketplaces. I mean, the list is endless. And sometimes I wonder how we were able to keep this up. What really is the motivation before we go?
Well, the inspiration to do these things comes from my very background. I'm not from a rich home. I'm not from a privileged home. I went through struggles in life. I saw the state of the community. And when the privilege came, I felt that I needed to make an impact. I'm the youngest in the Fourth Republic to have been given opportunity to serve as MP. I want a situation whereby tomorrow, should another youthful person come in for this position, people will say, oh, there came an Alex, he did it. So let's give this young man to the chance. Sometimes there is this perception that you must be all grown before you are given an opportunity to lead. So having had this opportunity, I felt motivated by these to do what I have to do. One thing that is I'm looking forward as a signature 10 key project is the children's hospital that is under construction.
Right.
It is going to be a secondary referral facility with all the modern equipment to save lives. And that is a legacy project I'm looking forward to complete it for Widiba.
Okay.
We've done a lot, and a lot more can be done to create an industrialized Efutu, to create an Efutu where the youth would have equal opportunity to get jobs, to build their own capacity. And that's my focus. I'm sure that someday my successor will look up to what I've done and draw inspiration from it to also work hard for the community. Winneba has its own history, and we want to keep that history alive for generations to come.
All right. Folks, we'll leave it here. And you've been watching the minority leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin. We'll end it here, and then hopefully another time. My name is Elton Broby. Have a good evening.